And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're just going to take a quick look at 4 games I'm not going to play again. Now that sounds way worse than it is in a sense of, hey, there's lots of games out there that I'm never going to play again. In fact, of the 7,000 games I played, probably 6,000 of them I'll never play again. But there's probably 3,000 of those that I might play again. These I won't, and I'll tell you why. So we're going to start with MW Discover Energy. It's actually called Megawatt, but on the front they wanted to just make that look cool. This is build an electricity grid that can power the future. Now the structure of the cards, the graphic design, this all looks absolutely fantastic. The game is not good. Unfortunately, not at all. It is so lucky. There are event cards in there that are wild swings. You're collecting cards that produce energy but also have this negative effect, and you're subtracting one from the other. But if you draw well, you do good. You draw poorly, you don't. Just a big miss for me. I don't like this one at all. I would give it a 4. Marvel Mayhem. So here we have Scarlet Witch, Black Panther, Captain Marvel, and Iron Man. And each of them comes with their own deck. And in these decks, you are just simply playing cards on your turn that attack other players, although you can defend, you can heal yourself, and then each of the decks has their own, they all have like similar cards, but they also have special abilities. And are you kidding me? This is the year 2022. This is a lazy game design. I'm sorry, it's lazy. There's not a whole lot going on here. You can all gang up on one person, nothing to stop you from doing that. You just hit people, you take damage, you draw well. It also seems like it plays twice as long as it should. There's a lot of Marvel games out there. Just because the Marvel license is on a game doesn't mean it's good, and in fact, makes me not, 4 out of 10. Krom Evolution. Wow. So this one looks pretty neat. Has some really nice artwork in it. And I can't recommend this one at all. Because, yes, in this game you're trying to get evolutions. These evolutions you need to get resources for. How do you get these resources? Well, in various ways. The main way by sending out your cavemen. So each turn you send your cavemen out to different areas. You pick with a card. So far, I'm on board. I like simultaneous selection. But then when you land at the spot, you fight each other by rolling a die, and the higher die wins. What? Not only does higher die win, but if the loser loses a hit point, and if they lose the last hit point, the winner steals one from them. Because insult to injury is so much fun in a game. Yeah, that's a mess. And the idea is okay, but this is the very basic of a come on now. Again, we're in the year 2022. Games like this shouldn't be being designed. Now, this last game here is, these first 3, I'm telling you, they're bad games. Krom Evolution, I get a 5 out of 10. Blah. This last game here, Crescent Moon. I'm not calling this a bad game at all, but this is not a game for me. In this game, there are 5 asymmetrical players. And I know a lot of people are going to really like the idea of this because each of these asymmetrical players plays differently. They each get their book, and there are some games out there that are very popular that do this. Like Root is probably the most popular. But you can be the Warlord, the Murshid, the Nomad, the Caliph, and the Sultan. Here's the deal. This game plays really only with 5. You can play with 4 because one of these, I think it's the Warlord, can be played like on autopilot. So you need to get that many people together. Now that's not a bad thing. I'm okay with the game telling you exactly how many players it needs. Here's where I do have some issues with the game. First of all, while I think the game itself is fine, you're going to need to know the stuff here. If you're playing a Warlord, you're going to need to know all your special abilities. You're going to need to know your unique attributes and all this information. You need to know everyone else's too. And this game, this is a very much ebb and flow game. So for example, the Warlord makes troops. The Sultan has money. The Caliph is doing some stuff behind the scenes. The Warlord fights. The Nomad, I remember now. The Nomad's the one that's not in a 5-player game. The Nomad sells troops to other people, and they all have different ways to get points, and you need to know all that. But if one of these players is slightly off, so let's say, for example, the Nomad charges too high prices for troops, it can break the flow of the game. The Sultan doesn't want to put cards out for other players or things like that. It's so intertwined, and you need to understand it very well. And for me, the effort required to even be competent at the game. See, I don't necessarily need to be good at a game, but I would like to be competent. And this one, the first play, everyone was just completely lost. But it just kind of, for me, it goes beyond that. To go to the second play, you have to play, you almost feel like you have to play the same characters. Everyone has to play the same characters again, because I can switch to another character, but there's differences between controlling an area and having influence in a spot. And it's just, to me, it's at a level of thinking I don't want to do when playing a game. And it's not the thinking of the strategy, because I'm all with that. But for me, the thinking of this one is, how does the game even work? You know, think of it as you're driving a race car around a track as fast as you can. You're trying to win the race, but the whole time you're trying to remember how to drive a car. That's not going to make for a good race. And so in other games like Root, and I think this is very comparable to Root, in Root, I do need to know how the other players work, but not that much. I'll kind of just watch it. Here, I have to absolutely know how they work. And here, they're intertwined even more so than Root. And here, I just felt like it was a little obtuse for me. Now, some people are going to like this game. I'm putting it in the Dice Tower library, actually, because I think it's going to go over well with many people. But for myself, it just was one that I thought, I love games for the fun. And this game, to me, feels like the fun is trapped 5-6 games down with all people who've played before. And that's a fantastic thing. It has beautiful artwork. Osprey Games does a good job with their stuff. And I applaud the designer for trying this sort of thing. And it's going to work for many people. I'm just not one of them. And I don't want to put that more effort into that game. So that's obviously better than these 3 games. But all 4 of them are games I won't play again. Anyhow, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching the Dice Tower. We'll see you next time.